Hi everyone. In this video lesson, we will be talking about biodiversity and extinction. First, let's begin with biodiversity. So this describes the variety of species in an ecosystem. The number of species in an area is described as species richness, and this tends to be higher near the equator. So for example, tropical rainforests have the highest biodiversity. So if you think of the Amazon rainforest and you were to point it out on a map, it's in Brazil, you will notice that the equator goes right through the Amazon rainforest. And that is why this place has a high biodiversity and a high species richness. Let's talk about the benefits of biodiversity as well as why we should protect it. So ecosystems with a higher biodiversity are better able to remain healthy after a disturbance. And a disturbance to an ecosystem would be some type of temporary change. So you can think of a flood as a disturbance or a wildfire, something like a bad storm or an outbreak of disease. These would all be considered a disturbance to an ecosystem. So ecosystems with a high biodiversity are better able to bounce back after these things have occurred. And by protecting ecosystems, protects the species within them and therefore protects biodiversity as a whole. We need to protect it by reducing pollution, reducing habitat destruction, and avoiding the introduction of new species. Biodiversity is under attack because we are losing some species by the process of extinction. So this is the natural process of organisms dying off, and it naturally occurs at a slow rate. And this is usually after a catastrophic event. So you've probably heard that the dinosaurs died off because of a meteor strike. As you can see in this image, of all species that ever existed on Earth, 99% are now extinct. So that means all of the species that are on Earth right now at this moment make up only 1% of the total amount of species that have ever existed on Earth. Next, we're going to be looking at the causes of extinction, but first let's look at some of these recent extinctions in Canada. And now you'll notice that it's not just animals, but also types of plants that can go extinct. You will see that some species have gone extinct as recent as 2005. And that number is even more recent when you look on a global scale. For example, there is a list of species that went extinct in 2020, one of them being the splendid poison frog from Central America. Now, it was declared extinct in 2020 because it hadn't been seen in the wild for a few decades. So sometimes, even though a species is extinct, we don't know about it until we can confirm that there are none left somewhere in the wild. So as mentioned before, catastrophic events such as an asteroid impact, volcanic eruptions, and things like that have caused many species to become extinct. However, extinction between catastrophic events has been historically low. More recently, it's not these huge catastrophic events that are causing extinction, it is the result of humans. So this includes things like habitat loss, temperature change or global warming, pollution, overharvesting of plants and animals, so think overfishing, something like that. Non-native animals and plants. So these are species that are newly introduced into an area that they weren't present in before. And this could disrupt something like a food web and cause the extinction of other animals. Next, you have natural factors or things like disasters. And finally, any human interference has the potential to put species at risk of extinction. Let's look at the at-risk species classifications. So first we have extirpated. So this means the species is extinct from an ecosystem but exists elsewhere. So for example, if there was an animal that was once found in Ontario but now is only found in the United States, that would mean extirpated. You can no longer find it in this area. Next, we have endangered. So this means a species is facing extinction or extirpation. So it's at risk of becoming eliminated from a certain area or from the entire earth. Below that, we have threatened. So this means the species is at risk of being endangered if factors are not changed. So this means animals that are considered threatened will have special things put in place by humans to manage their populations, preventing them from becoming endangered. And finally, we have special concern. So this is a species that may become threatened or endangered. So animals that are of special concern are typically put on something like a watch list. Like, oh, we have to keep an eye on these animals because they may become threatened and humans might have to intervene to protect their populations. And that concludes this video lesson.